Hi, I'm John Hannon, the author of Your Normal Mind. This is less of an exercise as it is a short introduction to an additional step in thinking about how you relate to difficult emotions. Ideally, this work would follow on from the work in the first two exercises of this series. In the first exercise, you learned about the different parts of your mind and the conscious space in which emotion arises. In the second exercise, you learned a new way of being willing to let difficult emotions exist within you. This gradual introduction to something fearful is similar to the way we treat someone with a phobia of snakes. We don't throw them in a pit of snakes and suggest they get used to it. We start gently, maybe by showing them a photograph of a snake until they learn to become comfortable with that first. Then we might get them to touch a shed snakeskin. Then gradually, they might watch someone else handle a snake from the outside of a glass window. Then they might step in the room to watch. Then they might get a brief touch of the snake, and so on. Eventually, people can become comfortable handling a snake. This is what we did by showing you a little uncomfortable feeling first and showing you a new way to manage that. Now that you're a little more willing to experience uncomfortable emotions, we're going to look at another step. On that basis, let's proceed. How do we manage emotions when they are upset? Funnily enough, a little bit the same as we manage people when they're upset. I worked for the Flying Doctor Service in remote Indigenous communities for about a decade. People in these communities can be severely traumatised. Often there would be somebody in the street, intoxicated and very angry. I would need to de escalate the situation. Imagine if I told such a person to calm down and be reasonable, and otherwise suggested that they were being inconvenient to others, rather than deal with their needs. You can imagine how they might react with extreme volatility. There's a saying in the history of calming down, no one ever calmed down because someone told them to calm down. To calm people down, I would ask them, "What's going on, mate?" Now, it's important to note here what the function of their anger is in this situation. Anger is often a strategy to get people to listen. It goes something like this: I want you to listen to me. I want you to listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me, right? And so it goes. In our circumstance, for this person that's angry in the street, it now appears to the individual as if their anger is working. So they might initially escalate that anger even further. This can feel to the novice de escalator as though the listening is not working, and they might retreat. But with a little persistence and drawing the message out of the upset person, the emotion will come down. How do we respond when emotions escalate? We try to ignore them, distract ourselves, and do whatever we can to make them go away. In some sense, they are the same as the angry person with a message they want heard, yet we are telling them they are broken and unreasonable given the circumstance. They respond exactly the way an angry, unheard person would. Our emotion gets angrier. The emotion escalates. But what if we behave as though the emotion has a message for us? Even if it's misguided, would not drawing out the message be helpful in the same way as drawing the message out of an upset person is helpful? The process can be as simple as turning your awareness inward toward the emotion. In terms of the first exercise, this would mean turning the flashlight part of your mind toward the emotion. First, notice the sensation, then be willing to experience it the way we practiced in the second emotion exercise. Then simply ask the emotion, "What do you want me to know?" You might find, as you turn your attention inward and ask this question, that the difficult emotion initially escalates, exactly the way an upset human does when you ask the same question. This can cause people to back away. If you can, push through this initial escalation and let the emotion know that you respect it as a functional part of you. You recognize that it is working with your interests in mind, and let it know that you are working on the same project. Once the emotion trusts that you see it as reasonable and that you're working in the interests of the same thing, it might send up memories or images to let you know what it is concerned about. In the book, I provide a full communication model that explains exactly the approach to take at this juncture. The model is useful in internal communication with your emotions and also in the external world with family, partners, colleagues, and friends. I fully encourage you to take a look at it. You may have information that the emotion is unaware of, and you can enter into dialogue with it using the communication method. If you have some mild anxiety or irritation you are curious about, you might go ahead and explore this type of exercise at home already. But if you have difficult emotions, particularly from earlier traumatic circumstances, I encourage you to not try this at home and to seek the assistance of a professional. Unfortunately, this sort of work may require the care and guidance of a good practitioner, and it may not lend itself to the sort of self-discovery activities of the first two videos in this series. In this regard, you might consider a practitioner in internal family systems therapy, otherwise known as IFS. Their work involves internal dialogue with your emotions in a similar but also different and more complex way than the exercise just described. I wanted to give you this extra skill for its own worth, but I would also like it to be a teaser so that you might make a decision on whether the IFS type of therapy might be appropriate for you. For now, I hope you have a new approach to take with your emotions of listening for the message. Listening is done with an open approach that accepts that your emotions are there for a good reason and they have a message they would like you to hear. Thanks for listening. I hope you have a nice day.